Hi everybody, it's Martin from the Washboard Resonators, and we had a request to do a video about how to learn songs. So I've got a sheet here, but thank you to Pete Johnson for requesting this. We were chatting and he suggested this as an idea, and I never thought of it. It's a really good idea. Pete's a good guy. He lives in Birmingham in England, and if you've ever seen the guitar story video we did about the 1931 Duolian, that guitar came from Pete. So it's quite a complex subject actually, but I, over the years have developed a few techniques which I hope I can share that might speed up the process for you. So let's just start at the very, very beginning then. The first thing to do is to pick a song you want to learn. You might have written it, good, or it might be a cover, traditionally you want to learn. So even before we even get into that, let's just have a think about that. The song I'm looking at is a song originally by Ewan MacColl called Dirty Old Town that he did for a radio play in the 1940s. And the reason why I'm learning this song is because I had a harmonica lesson. Now I was learning blues harmonica, which is a particular way of playing. There's another kind of harmonica playing, a more traditional style called first position. And in order to learn first position, the guy suggested, why don't you just learn a couple of songs that use first position harmonica? Now, this song, Dirty Old Town, is a very famous example of that, especially the Pogues cover of it. So, the first thing is, I've picked to learn this song because I love the song, and I love the Pogues, I love Ewan MacColl. But I've picked it for the first position harmonica. And the first thing is, when you pick songs to cover, pick songs maybe in keys. If you're a blues player and you're used to playing E, but you maybe don't know A, pick a song in A, maybe Robert Johnson's song. Even if you don't perform it, all those moves. All those moves will open up that key to you, and you can then figure out other stuff from it. So there's point one, choose your song to get more from it. So point two is like, how do you speed up the process? I struggle with words like quite a lot to learn. It takes me quite a while to get words settled in to the point where I can sing them without thinking, and I can kind of emote the song. And I used to just try and do it by rote. So I would get the words. I used to print them off and then just run the song and run the song and run the song, and it was a very slow process. I since discovered that because I was never really a singer, and I've always found, I even still to this day find singing quite scary, if I'm honest. I think I was releasing a certain amount of cortisol, and cortisol will, the stress hormone, will block and block your ability to sort of like remember things in the short term. It's just something that it does. It's kind of a fight or flight response kind of thing. So what I've tried to do is make word learning something which is has a positive emotional aspect, and that has cut the times down. And the way I do that is, this is something I learned from some actor friends and a comedian friend of mine, a stand-up comedian friend. The first thing to do, instead of printing the words out and just going over them, actually physically write them down. That definitely makes a difference. Definitely makes a difference. The next thing to do is maybe perhaps even write them out a few times, so that the act of writing will speed up the process of learning the words. The next thing to do is to try and take, this is something that an actor taught me, take each verse and try and read through the verse, and do go over the entire thing, but then at some point take each verse and just try and boil it down to, like, whether it's one word or just a very simple small amount of words, and use that as a trigger to think ahead when you get to that verse about what the next verse is like basically embody and encompass that entire verse. So the first verse on this song is, I met my love by the gasworks light, in the gasworks light, dreamed a dream by the old canal, I kissed my girl by the factory wall, dirty old town, dirty old town. So I might just think of that as being I met my love, and that's often enough to sort of trigger the rest of the verse as you learn it. So you know, if I'm doing a song and all right, what's the first verse? As I'm playing the intro, and I'll be like, the first one is I met my love. So that helps. Another way of helping is a memorization trick, which again was taught to me by a stand-up comedian friend. If you've ever seen people that do these ridiculous memory tricks where they memorize like packs of cards, the way that they do that is they assign each card something which has an emotional connection to them, like a person or a place that they love. And then what they do is probably like imagine a corridor, and as they're, you know, seeing things, they just imagine they're up in the first door and there's this thing in there, and the second door there's this thing in there. They might even see the number on the door. So this is something that I have spent time doing, and it helps. So I might think verse 1, I met my love by the gasworks light, dreamed a dream by the old canal. Well, I grew up near a canal, and you know, I've met, you know, sometimes I used to go meet girlfriends, you know, would meet by the canal and go for a walk. So I might think of verse 1, I'll just mind map somebody, you know, that used to be, you know, important in my life. I'll imagine the canal, a place I know, the canal that runs through Huddersfield, where I'm from, and I will use something that springs to mind to sort of do that. Then I'll move on to door number 2. Clouds are drifting across the moon, cats are prowling out their beat, springs a girl through the streets at night, dirty old town. So I'll just think about clouds drifting across and cats prowling. Well, I've got a cat, Mr. Fluff. Imagine him prowling with the moon, you know, and the clouds in my street, that where I live. And that's how I'll get to like number 2. And I'll picture that and mind map that. So these are quite, you know, I guess quite extreme techniques, but I do use them at times and they do help. Now, the other way is just I find a small amount regularly helps. So you might be wondering why I'm doing this in my car. Well, I'm working at a place called Alton Towers, and I just literally a couple of weeks ago got an email, do you want to come play some music at the theme park's reopening after coronavirus? I was like, yes please, I need to work and pay some bills. So I've been using the time, it's about a 2-hour drive each way to come and play here each day. I've been using the time to learn songs. So what I do is I have the song sheet on the car seat next to me, and when I'm on the motorway, I'll get behind a lorry, you know, truck, and just, you know, I don't want to be looking all the time I'm driving, but I'll just try and remember the words. And what I'll do to myself is I'll say, and this is a great technique for learning, try and do the thing right, say 5 times, and then forget about it and do something else. So I might just say, right, I'm going to do Dirty Old Town 5 times, get the verses right, you know, however slow it takes. And then once I've done it 5 times in a row and got all the words right, then I'll listen to a new, you know, record, or I'll, you know, whatever. So the next point really is use your time where you might be just using dead time. It could be that you're cooking, you're chopping up onions, well, just run verses. You know, you could be making dinner, you could be going for a jog. Well, you could just jog, or you could work on verses. You could be sat in the car, you could be, you know, commuting, you could be sat on a bus. Use that time. So, you know, use the off time to remember words. So that's memorizing words. Now the next thing to think about, I think really another point about this, from Pete's message, is saying, you know, what's the process? How do you think about it? Well, when I think about this, I think about, you know, once I've chosen a song and I've maybe started learning the words, because I know that words are what I struggle with, I'll want to start thinking about how I'm going to play the song. So you start to think about style, you start to think about keys, you start to think about arrangements, because you can't really perform the song until all that stuff's in place. How am I going to start it? How am I going to end it? What feel do I give it? So the first thing is what I might do, and what I was doing a couple of weeks ago, was I was just listening to loads of versions of this song. Ewan McCall, the Pogues, there's loads of people covering it, the folk singers, and getting a feel of maybe what kind of sounded interesting, or maybe you get some ideas from the way the people kind of attack the material. So, you know, so another good thing to do is just to do that. You know, think about that. I nearly took some verses out to play extra harmonica, but in the end I've done the full Pogues. Basically I just transcribed the words out from the Pogues, made a sheet. So the thing to do is just to keep doing a little bit, like I say, 5 times on a 2-hour drive, 5 times on a 2-hour drive. I decided to start doing this song a couple of weeks ago, but I haven't really had much time at home to practice it. So I've given myself a little deadline, and this is another thing you can try and do. If you perform or whatever, a deadline is a great way to get stuff done, because if you give yourself a deadline, you may beat it, and that's fantastic. But you may also have a deadline, and let's just say, for the sake of argument, you said, I want to have this song, I want to be able to play this song. Here's the way I do it. I record it into my phone as if it's a performance. I say, right, I want to be able to perform this song into my phone as a recorded performance. Then I'll delete it once I've listened back to it, but I can do it without any song sheet, without anything. So I kind of just make a demo. I'm going to make a demo, and I know I've learned it. Or I'm going to do it on a gig. Well, so my point was, you know, today is Thursday. I'm thinking, I spent yesterday and today learning the song on the drives. I'm thinking maybe tomorrow I'll try and do it when I'm doing one of my sets out there in Alton Towers. So by giving yourself a deadline, what that means is 5 times on each drive might be enough to have learnt the harmonica parts. Because I'm learning harmonica, I've got to learn, you know, the harmonica. I'll be able to get it with the guitar. And the words, I met my love. There's another point as well, make sure that the melody's right. Some people are naturally good singers or you know, work at singing. But, you know, sometimes just pick the melody separately so you can check your tuning. I met my love, I met my love, in the gasworks lights. Okay, so my goal is to be able to perform this in front of people tomorrow, Friday. So when I'm driving home tonight, if I can't do it, or if I try and make a little recording of it now after I switch this phone, you know, switch this video off, if I can't do it, then maybe I have to do it 10 times or 15 times on the drive back, because I have to meet my goal tomorrow and I just have to work up to it. So I find goals and time frames work really, really, really well for that. I mean, here I'm rambling in a car park on a break from gigging, but what else is there to it? Yeah, what are you trying to do? Okay. There's some really interesting stuff. If you look at some of the TED Talks, if you look at, there's some really interesting stuff on, if you Google how memory works and how skills are learned and how muscle memories are formed. Basically, if you want to learn a song, you might be lucky. Jack, who plays in the Washboard Resonators, he can look at a song sheet once or twice. We can practice a song once or twice, maybe 3 times, tops. And the song sheet for him goes, and he can sing the song and remember the words and never get it wrong. I probably have to sing a song, if I'm honest, in its completeness, probably 15, maybe 20 times, until I can probably be on the gig and get it right. So there's 2 ways of looking at that. One way is that, oh, Jack can remember stuff much quicker. Well, you know, like I said earlier, I didn't really start singing until I was in mid to late 20s, and so I think that skill of memorising was behind. I'm sort of catching up. I am getting much quicker at learning songs with these techniques. But so I just have to do the work. So I don't have it on the sheet because it's quite new and I'm driving when I'm working and stuff. But what I will often do is I'll say, right, I'll do them in lots of 5. I'll do 5 little square, I'll draw little square boxes. 5, 5, 5, 5, that's 20. And every time I sing the song, this is it from at home, just tick it, tick it, tick it, tick it. And what I can see as the ticks get from 10 to 15 to 20, I know that I've, generally speaking, that, you know, 20 times, say, the song's going to be locked in and I can't get it wrong. And that's the point of learning, isn't it? If you're trying to learn something and you want to then go on stage and perform it, you know, if you could be I'm working with circus actors here and guys that can like do trapeze things. Well, they're practicing all the time. They're not out there performing, they're practicing. And what they're practicing is just to get it right every time. So that's the point of like practice and muscle memory. We'll come back to that muscle memory. But the point is you want to get to the point where you can't get it wrong. And going back to what I was trying to say earlier, and the TED Talks and the Googling stuff, the way memory works is you try and learn something and your brain doesn't really form the synapse until you sleep that night, but then it's going to be quite a weak synapse. So what you have to do is you kind of do the work, and you know that you're behind where you want to be in terms of, let's say, like learning songs or learning melodies or whatever. But you just try and do it right. Let's say 5 times. I'm going to do it right 5 times, then I'm going to move on to something else. Then what happens is you do it the next day 5 times. And that night, the synapse grows a little bit stronger and a little bit meatier and thicker. And what you're trying to do is, let's say over 3, 4, 5 days, you should have, that memory should be quite a strong memory. Then as you go out and start performing the song, you will find that there's energy, and you play it to an audience, and you feel ways to make the song work. And as the song's completely now in your kind of like muscle memory, you then play with the song and you experiment with the song and you try ways of doing, do you do verses down? Do you sing choruses up? Do you shout? Do you go for bits? Do you soften bits? And you play with it, and that's where the joy of music is where you can kind of like recast the song every time you play it. Almost you can make it, you can connect with something and try and connect with the audience. And that only comes really when that synapse is really, really strong. And if you keep performing the song over the months and the years, it really truly becomes like part of your muscle memory. And then the way that memories work is that if you don't use you know, if you don't basically remember things or do things, you do start to, those synapses start to break down and make room for other new memories. So the most important thing you can do to try and keep remembering songs and keep learning songs is to keep doing them. So have a list of your songs. Now mine's actually in the green room, but I've got a list of all the songs I do. And what I try and do on these kind of gigs where I'm just playing like outside as people walk by, it's not really like a performance on a stage, just very kind of commercial, professional musician kind of work. I just try and run songs. Just try and run songs, even songs that maybe, you know, aren't necessarily my favourite, but I'll keep them on that list. And it just means that, you know, if I do them once every 3 or 4 days, they're there. If I'm doing, you know, if I'm doing a wedding and, you know, in 6 months' time and a song gets called, it should be there and be usable and be there, and not something that you kind of stumble over on the gig. So I don't know if I mean, I don't know, that's taken a long time to say all that, but I also think these are all very important things in terms of how you do it. Let's recap it all. Basically, little and often, especially if you can do it every day. Don't leave it more than 2 or 3 days if you're trying to learn something, because you're kind of starting from scratch again. So you really have to sort of focus over, I'd say 3, 4, 5 days to try and, you know, do things right 5 times, section by section, you know. Divide and conquer, break things down. So learn the melody. I met my love. We talked about learning the words and those kind of mind mapping exercises. And then yeah, talking about what you know, how you're going to play the chords, how you're going to arrange it, but then also like playing the harmonica with it. And then so I had to work just on that harmonica part and guitar. I had to learn the harmonica part by itself, so I learnt that, so I couldn't get that wrong. You know, again, just on the, again, when you're on the motorway, you're not changing gears, and like I say, I just get, you know, behind a lorry, so I don't have to do any weaving in and out of traffic. I can be driving along, not with the guitar, but whoa, that sounds bad. I can work on the harmonica part, then put it together with the guitar, then put the words together, then the melody, and then you know, then what, like I say, set a goal. Then so what I'm going to try and do tomorrow is I'm going to try and perform this song. In fact, I might even, depends how I can do it, I might even set the camera up and film it, see if it goes badly or not. So there we go. There's a lot of talking there. I hope that helps. Bye-bye for now.